Well, ACEs, a lot of people have probably heard that before, but it's an acronym for Adverse Childhood Experiences. There was a major study published in 1998, and it was with a collaboration from the CDC and Kaiser Permanente, which is a healthcare service provider. And that proved the link between experiences we go through as children having long-term effects on our mental health and our physical health throughout adulthood. There were about 17,000 members from Kaiser, and they were, like I said, a healthcare service provider. And they started noticing that there were all these chronic health problems as people were growing older, and so they had this idea, and they had people just fill out a survey. And it involved all kinds of questions. There were 10 questions. And every time you answered yes to one of them, you got a point. And that point constituted your ACEs score. And it goes from 0 to 10, 0 being the best and 10 being, the most severe. And it was shown that about 66 people have at least one ACE. 20% have experienced at least 3, and 14% have experienced at least 4 or more. And since that time, we have, still continued learning more and more about that to now where we can relate mental health issues, reduced decision-making capacity, increased trauma, increased substance abuse or risky behavior, and those types of things. To the more ACEs you have, the worse off those scenarios become. What they actually are, as defining them, are highly stressful and potentially traumatic events or situations that happen during childhood and or during adolescence. I just say 0 to 18. They can be one thing that happens, or they can be prolonged threats to and breaches of the young person's safety, security, trust, or bodily integrity. Some examples of these are physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, physical and emotional neglect, and then household dysfunction, which includes things like living with maybe parents, or one parent may have a mental illness, or an incarcerated parent. You could have a fire in the house and have some kind of traumatic experience. Or you can have seeing a parent treated violently, losing a parent through death or divorce or abandonment, or any other. There's multiple things, but those are just to give you some kind of idea. It's something traumatic that really changes you from that point. I think a lot of people probably can relate to something like this. It is thought that, when we build up stressful events experienced, in our childhood, and, it just keeps building up, it can lead to toxic stress, which causes wear and tear on our developing brain and stress response system. And basically what that means, Nathan, is that we can just wear our body out over time. Children and adolescents who have undergone traumatic experiences have shown dysregulation in how their brain and their body interpret and respond to stress. I'm going to give you an example. You may have a kid who loves to do art. They're very talkative. They feel like they're innocent. They're just a regular child, and what we envision childhood being. And then something happens to them that could be multiple different things that we've talked about. And after that time, they may get a little bit depressed. They may not talk as much. They may not be interactive with people, so they socially isolate. They're like a little flower dying, with no water. That's what I kind of relate it to. There's a definite change, a line in the sand.